Hi, this is Jeff Curto, and welcome to episode number 160 of Camera Position, the podcast about the creative side of photography. Well, I think everyone who does creative work of any sort, photography, of course, in our realm, got into it because they loved the medium and because they found really interesting photographs, really great photographs, were things that they really were moved by. And I think most of us had first steps in photography that were probably, just okay. Our taste was good. We understood what good photographs were supposed to look like. But I'm guessing that there was a difference between what we wanted to make, based on our understanding of what we think good photography should look like, and what we were actually making. And I think there were probably a couple of things acting there. One, perhaps in any of our early days in photography, was limited exposure to great photography, but also our understanding of what good photographs we had seen and what about them made us interested in looking at photographs more and making more photographs on our own. And I think all of us have gone through a phase where we understood that our abilities fell short of our ambitions. And I think that set of phases kind of goes and comes over time. I think all of us have ambition that falls short of our expectation or falls short of our output over time, again and again. And when that happens, I think we have to employ three keys to keep on a successful path and get through that phase where our ambition doesn't match up with our output. And I think that those three keys are essential to having an understanding of how we can move forward and, in fact, get that output to match more closely with our ambition. The first key, I think, is don't quit. I suppose that's fairly obvious, but a lot of people, after trying to make creative work for a while and recognizing that their ambition and their output aren't matching up, opt to try quitting to make creative work at all. They just give up. Imagining that it will never get better, they give up and move on to something else, whatever that other thing is. But of course, quitting leaves them at that one spot where they will never make any more progress. So avoiding that temptation to quit. And whether you're quitting photography altogether or just quitting a particular sort of avenue of photography that you're trying to experience or do, it doesn't matter whether you're looking at it from the point of view of a global, like, I give up, or I give up trying to make, photographs of the night sky or something like that. I think the second key is to do a lot of work. Huge volumes of work, much of it that we may not even show to people. Of course, our temptation is to post everything or nearly everything on our social media networks, but it might be good to resist that temptation and simply make work, lots of work, quietly and steadily. And slowly but surely, bit, by creating large quantities of work in a mindful way, we wind up closing the gap between our ambitions for our photography and the actual work that we're producing. And I think that volume of work piece it's a lot easier now in the digital world than it ever has been in the film world. Back in my early days of teaching, when there was no digital photography and I was trying to work with students with film photography, and I would tell them that at a minimum they should expose 2 rolls of 36 exposures a week, they would all throw up their hands and say, "Oh my God, how could we possibly make that many pictures in a week? Not at all could we ever hope to accomplish that kind of quantity of work." And now, of course, 72 pictures a week is really something that's sort of laughable in terms of the volume. So our digital tools that we have available to us today, and I know that many of you, like me, are still shooting film either from time to time or in a completely serious way all the time. But the digital realm really does give us the chance to create huge volumes of work, and the more work we can produce, the better our odds become of making that idea that we have in our head match up with the output. And the third key here is probably the most important, and that is to listen to the inner critic. And this is where this episode dovetails nicely with the whole group of podcasts where I've talked about critique and the process of delivering honest and forthright critique to yourself and to others. The inner critic is that voice that sometimes we don't listen to. And it's because when we're making work, the inner critic is often questioning whether the concept is worthwhile, whether it's worth making the work. I often hear myself saying in the back of my head, "What is this for?" Especially when I'm trying out something new that I haven't tried before. The inner critic often veers awfully close to the realm of negative, internal self-doubt, insecurity, feelings that are often very detrimental to the creative process. However, the inner critic is incredibly useful, and I think it's also very necessary for improving our work. You might need to be your own inner critic and evaluate the work that you're doing truthfully. If you confront your inner critic in a forthright way, you'll have the opportunity to further close the gap between your photographic ambitions and your photographic output. Of course, as you might guess, I'd even advocate going to the effort of using the 4-step critique process that I laid out in episode number 155. And I'll link again to that infographic that's been downloaded quite a number of times. So I'm glad it's getting out there. Spread the word on it because I think it's a useful process. And that is to describe the image or images, analyze the image, interpret the image's message, and then evaluate the overall value of the work. And doing that on your own can be as valuable as doing it for someone else or having someone else do it for you. Avoid the temptation to quit, and instead produce as great a volume of work as you're able, and then use that inner critic to honestly assess the work that you're making. Those steps will help you close the gap between your ambitions in photography and your actual production as a photographer. Well, UPS just delivered a new camera to my door, so I'm going to go out and do some shooting and then come back and take a look at what it is that I've made. I'll look forward to talking with you on the next episode of Camera Position, the podcast about the creative side of photography.